What is up, everybody? DanDanTheFireman here. Today, we're going to be watching three motorcycle riders. One of them is going to be making a tight turn into his parking lot, and his mom actually watches the crash happen. And I'm going to teach you and show you how to make those tight turns. And the second crash that we're going to be going over is going to be an intersection. This is why we plan our ride. We have to navigate these active threats with the three things that we can do in an emergency, and I'll talk about that when that crash happens. And then on the last one, we're going to be talking about this guy that goes way too fast into a corner and goes off the road. So let's go ahead and talk about why we need to be planning our ride when it comes to intersections and locating these hazardous situations. So if you're a brand new motorcycle rider, let's watch these videos and learn from their mistakes.
This is how quick this
All
ride
right,
is
let's
made.
take a look at this one.
To the worst day ever.
To the worst day ever. All right. Oh, there's that truck coming, and we're making a right-handed turn. The person undertook us. Now, it is the truck driver's fault or the SUV driver's fault. I was really concerned that he hit his arm on that front bumper. It looks like he's moving it pretty well, though. So he had his blinkers on.
I have my blinkers on. I can't do a tight turn.
Okay, so a tight turn. So let's take a look at this real quick. So this is going to be the situation. Now, let me go get my pen so we can actually kind of use it a little bit better on this one. So he's coming into this area right here. Okay, there we go. So he's coming up here and he's going to try to make a tight turn. Now, it looks like it's just a normal driveway. It's not very wide and everything. And he mentions in the video that he has to go wide to make this tight turn. Now, this is why the vehicle decided to undertake. Now, the SUV should not have undertook. Now, that's something that you learn as a driver in your driver license test, is that you don't undertake people. Now, what undertaking is that you're passing on the right, basically, because in the United States, we're on the right side. So if you have to watch out for people turning right. So if you go in between them and the curb, they go right on you, that's not good. And we always assume that nobody's going to pass us on the right, so we can make these right-handed turns. So that's probably what the motorcycle rider was thinking. Is like, hey, nobody's going to pass me on the right. I'm going to make this right-handed turn so I can go wide. And you typically see that with truck drivers having to go wide on their turns because they have a big trailer. But we're on a motorcycle, okay? We should be able to make these tight turns pretty simply. And one thing that I do teach you guys and show you guys in the Smart Rider drill booklet is we can do tight turns. Okay, we can do all these different tight turns here. And once again, you can grab this. There's a digital version you can put on your phone, but we practice in a parking lot and practice our tight turns. And part of the motorcycle operator skills test is being able to do a tight turn from a stop, which is actually harder than doing a tight turn while moving. So actually part of our motorcycle skills test, which is the motorcycle operator skills test that is in about 39 states. Now, California has something different. Some other states have something different. But you can take that test and then get your endorsement. So you're supposed to be able to make a tight turn from a stop. Now, I discussed that and I show you how to do that in the new book that I've coming out with. And it is called Riding Smart. And we practice the motorcycle operator skills test. We practice the tight turns in the parking lot. We practice the tight turns in the neighborhood. So this is a skill that you should have. Now, is it going to prevent this incident? No. I mean, if that SUV driver was going to rear end us because we're going to be where this other line is. Let's say instead of doing this, we just did that tight turn. Hopefully, that truck driver or that SUV driver didn't rear end us. But we shouldn't have to make such wide turns, okay? Especially on a sport bike like this, you should be able to do those tight turns. So practice those in a parking lot in your neighborhood. It's very easy, and this could have been prevented in that way, but overall, it's a pretty bad situation, so hopefully he's doing fine. All right, let's take a look. Oh, we have somebody coming out and hitting us. Okay, oh, we got another point of view. That's a very high impact, high mechanism of injury. I can't pause there. And so we have to be able to swerve. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do in an emergency situation, because the whole point is that we're supposed to be planning a ride, positioning for safety, locating these hazardous situations like intersections and corners, assessing if anybody's coming out or doing anything to get in our path of travel. Are they a relevant threat? If they become an active threat, we're going to have to navigate. So the three things that we can do is emergency swerve, emergency brake, and emergency acceleration. Honking the horn, rev bombing, punching mirrors, that is not what we do, because we are going to hit something. The whole point of an emergency maneuver, navigating away from them, is to not get into a crash. So right here, let's go and take a look at this. We see it right at the beginning of this incident. So my best guess is that this person was coming out of this area, looks like an intersection, and started going across all the lanes of travel. Now, There's a reason why we have a snail on our Speedo, okay? So part of what we're doing here when it comes to navigating active threats is that, are we the active threat? Are we going way higher than the flow of traffic? Are we going way higher than the speed limit? We might have to navigate ourselves into a new position for safety, which is to slow down. So if you're a brand new motorcycle rider, go the speed limit. Because that's what the main thing here is, that people think the other drivers on the road, typically Priuses are the ones that hit us, but typically drivers on the road assume, okay, I don't like to assume, but people assume that everyone's going the speed limit. So when they see us way down here, they think, oh, we got plenty of time. Yeah, I can pull out and get across all these lanes. I got plenty of time. They're way down there. But it's very hard for them to understand and see a small object like a motorcycle just all of a sudden getting right next to us because we're speeding. So you're actually playing a better role as a motorcycle rider if you do the speed limit. And it's much easier to do your swerves, braking, and accelerations from that lower speed to a higher speed to get out of a situation if you're going the speed limit. So go the speed limit. Okay, very simple with that. So that's what we assume here, is that this person decides to go out. This person's going way too fast. There's a reason why they blur it. And you can kind of see it from this point of view right here, how fast we're going. Okay, so what we can do is 3 different things. Is emergency swerve, emergency brake, emergency acceleration. Now at this speed, our total stopping distance is pretty terrible when it comes to actually slowing down. We need a bunch of runway basically to slow down, okay? That's why airplanes need a huge runway if they're coming in pretty hot. They need a long ways to slow down. So we can't really slow down. We can't stop in time. So we can't really do that. We can use it to buy ourselves some time, but it's not going to solve this problem, as that's the only thing that we're going to do. So we can buy ourselves some time slowing down and then release the brake and then go into a swerve to go into that escape path that we need. Or at higher speeds or at the regular speed, we can just go straight into the swerve. Now he's going into the swerve where the car driver is actually going, okay? So that's going to be very hard because now we're both competing for the spot. Now we could have swerved right, but you see how there's a big problem here. We don't know what's around the side. Our line of sight is actually blocked by all of this vehicle right here. So if we swerve left, we are hoping we're going to beat them to get back into our lane, okay? So you see how all these problems are starting to happen because we're just going too fast? You see, the main thing here is positioning ourselves for safety. Going too fast is going to put ourselves in a position for danger. So let's go ahead and slow it down. And I talk about the plan method in chapter 6 and chapter 7 of the new book, Riding Smart, where we apply that in a parking lot. Or I'm sorry, we apply that in a neighborhood and we apply it going to a parking lot from the neighborhood to the parking lot. So practice your plan method or watch this channel, subscribe. All right, so we do that. Now, what's the other thing? Emergency accelerate. Well, we're already at a high speed, so not much we can do here. Now, when it comes to swerving, you're going to want to swerve harder than you think you need to swerve. A lot of people think, I just need to turn the handlebars and counter steer like I'm going into a regular turn. No, or switching lanes. No, you need to swerve. You need to put an active movement into it and really move that bike to the left or to the right when it comes to that swerve. That's part of the motorcycle skills test, is swerving. Usually you do it at slower speed, but you need to go harder than you think you do so you can actually make this gap versus barely make it a lane change, because this is what happens here. This is a previous video that we talked about on the live stream. But you see how he's going from just barely the left side of this first lane, oh my God, to the right side of this lane. That's barely a lane change. That's not a swerve. That's a lane change. A swerve would be a full lane at least and making it up to here. So there's a failure on the swerve skills. So practice your swerve skills in a parking lot. I like practicing it on the road, pretending like this is a manhole cover. I'm going to swerve hard over and try to make it around it while I'm riding at 45 miles an hour on the road. Hopefully no cops are around. And so then there's the impact. So thankfully he's got some gear, but there's barely an impact. It's impressive that he was able to get this camera footage from this person. I'm wondering if there was a lawsuit or some kind of discovery so you can see that. But you notice how the bike is still going? That's pretty impressive. So he's got gear, so that's very important. So as smart riders, we acquire and use personal protective equipment just in case there's a failure in our skills, and that's why we maintain our skills. So go out there and practice, become a better rider. All right, so we have somebody pinning their hand down, full throttle. It looks like 100 miles an hour in the desert. Pretty fun, but you saw that caution sign, and we weren't prepared for it, and we're going off-road.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
He kept it up. That's what she said. So very good on not crashing. So he's probably gonna have to check his pantalones on that one. So he's going really fast around this corner, basically. Okay, so we're pinning the motorcycle down. Remember what I talked about? High speed is gonna make it harder to do some kind of turning or evasive maneuvers. Well, corners are hazardous situations. Typically, motorcycle riders can't negotiate a corner, and that's why they crash or they get hit in an intersection. Those are the two areas that we got to really focus on, and we have to navigate us as an active threat if we're speeding like this. So we're going super fast, no gear, high risk. Okay, very high risk. It's very easy to do this. It's very hard to do this and turn. All right, so here we go. We're coming up here, and what I was trying to point out is that we have signage. Now it's kind of hard to see because it's a little bit blurry. Probably a little bit of motion blur. But that sign says that we have curvy roads ahead, basically. So we got some squiggles, okay? A lot of people say, hey, that's the fun sign. Well, it can be if you're paying attention. So part of locating hazardous situations is also scanning for any markings, any road surface debris. We saw some dirt over there. Any signage that's going to give us an indication of what it is that we need to be focusing on and paying attention. Hey, this is going to happen. This is coming up. And that's why I like having my phone on my handlebars. And I use Rockform. There's a link in the description for 20% off. But I have my phone on the handlebars so that I have GPS. And it shows me like I have a little mini map on my bike so that I know what turns are coming up. Okay, I know what the road's going to look like coming up. So right here, we don't have anything. We're going into this blind, and we have that signage right there. So that should give you an indication, is that a relevant threat? Maybe I should slow down. Maybe I should slow down and put myself in a position for safety, a position to make a turn that's possibly coming up. I don't know. Because if you notice, the road kind of disappears. You see how the road disappears? It looks like it turns left, but it kind of disappears. That's because it's on a hill, and then it turns left after the hill. So that's called the crest of the hill. This is a blind corner. It's a blind turn. You don't know how sharp it is. You don't know what's going to happen. We're going 100 miles an hour in a straight line, and that's easy. But then making a turn that is unknown at 100 miles per hour, that's going to be difficult. So pay attention to that. Now, it doesn't look too hard, does it? No, but we start to barely slow down in the middle of a turn, and then we start to target fixate on the problem, which is going to be right here. Okay, so that's where motorcycle riders crash, is right at the beginning or right halfway through the actual turn. Now, target fixation is a tool, not a problem. Okay, you can target fixate on the problem itself, or you can target fixate on the solution. Okay, that's the tool that you want to use. You want to always target fixate on solutions. Think of this exit right here on this corner, way up here, as our escape path. So this is how we can practice our escape paths. Escape paths are just where you go or where you want to go in a certain situation. So in an emergency situation, that car pulls out in front of us, the escape path is where we want to go, where we don't hit the car. In a corner, the escape path that we want to go is on the road. We want to stay on the road. We don't want to go into the corner. Okay, so focus on that, commit to it. Not that one right there, but you want to commit to the turn, and we're going too fast. Really commit to it and swerve into that escape path if we need to on the turn. See how the swerve kind of works with turning a little bit? Okay, so target fixation is not going to be the problem. It's the tool. I want you guys to know that. We get up to here, and there's that, oh, shit. We went from 100 to 68, and now we're going off-road. And if you notice, many other people did that too. See all these skid marks? Many other people did that too. So people are not paying attention. That's why those signs are there. That's why we need to pay attention to that. So now if we get into this situation, we're just at the mercy of physics. And when we're at the mercy of physics, that's why we acquire and use personal protective equipment like full gear. Okay, so just in case something happens, hopefully that gear is going to protect us and mitigate as bad of an injury as, or as good of an injury as possible. So instead of like lacerating our arm to where we're bleeding out, it's maybe going to lacerate the gear and keep our arm pretty well. Or the impact's not going to break our elbow, it's just going to bruise it and make it painful for a while, and you have tendonitis. I'd rather have tendonitis than a broken elbow. So make sure you guys get full gear. Make sure you guys are paying attention to the actual road. Make sure that we're not doing anything dumb, okay? Especially out here by ourselves in the desert, away from tons of people. Imagine if we crashed and became unconscious, and we have big lacerations, and nobody's out there here to help us. Our phone disappears, whatever it is. Looks like he does have a Bluetooth system. So we use Cardo here at the Smart Rider crew, the DDFM crew. So check it out, link in the description for discounts on that. But I talk about this. Okay, great. So we have an after action. It was entirely my fault. I was riding on the road way too fast. I didn't know, the wrong line. Target fixated. Okay, very good. Didn't crash. Hope you guys can learn from as much as I did and remember to ride within your limits. So exactly, guys. So if you're a brand new motorcycle rider, please ride within your limits. Grab the new book. So if you don't know how to ride, it's going to take you from absolutely nothing to getting your license test, and get the Smart Rider drills. Links are in the description for everything. But most of all, hopefully you guys don't end up on one of these videos. Okay? I'll see you guys later.